Dave here, how are you? And welcome to What's in Arthur's Toolbox number 29. Tonight I'm going to discuss bench planes. Now Arthur had two bench planes. He had a jack plane and he had a trying plane. Now to a lot of people these will just be big wooden planes, and why do they call them what they do? Bench plane because they were used at the bench. Arthur's bench here, which is fantastic. The jack plane was used to reduce the thickness of timber quickly. It's only a 17-inch body. The handle is down low, so he could get in behind the push instead of pushing down like this one here. It's pushing down on top. The jack plane is right in behind it. He can really put a lot of energy into the cut. The plane used to have a handle at the front here. Now I've no idea, it was gone before I got the plane. The sole on this one, I think, is a different timber. Yes, it is. And also just here, it looks like it's had a repair at some time. The blade is flat, but on the edges it's rounded up a little bit. And the reason they did that was, as they're reducing the thickness of timber, rather than having these set trenches, it would kind of be scalloped. And so as they were going over, the plane wouldn't catch in a trench and follow it. They could keep on skipping over where they'd cut previously with this plane. Now the trying plane was also known as a jointer way back, but the trying planes finish at a length of 22 inches, and that is exactly what this is. Now it'll depend on when you're actually looking at the history of these guys as to what they're called. And I've got a reference book here. I'll go into the planes a little bit more in a minute, but I've got this reference book that I use all the time. It's a Dictionary of Woodworking Tools by R.A. Salomon, and it's got some great information in it. I'm not doing a promo, no one pays me to do this. I'm just letting you know where I get my information. Someone who watches the show said to me, Dave, get a hold of this book. It's going to make this series a whole lot more interesting. So I did that about 20 episodes ago. So thank you. All right, inside we'll go to hand planes and bench planes. I'm going to read a little bit, children, so pay attention. This is page 368 on this book. After about 1870, the terms jointer and long began to drop out, and although at present time the range of bench planes from 20 to 30 inch are usually called trying in the States, and to some extent in Scotland, the older term jointer has been retained, sometimes for the whole range. The handle of the trying plane is usually closed, hollow clasp, and until about 1820 and occasionally later it was often placed off-centre towards the right or left of the user. This curious feature is of unknown purpose, according to this gentleman, but is almost universal on large planes of the 18th century, British, Dutch and Scandinavian alike. These planes are used for truing up the surfaces and edges of long boards, for shooting the edges of boards perfectly straight so that their juncture may be scarcely discernible when their surfaces are joined together. I love it. So that's the trying plane, and then the jack plane, as I said, was for reducing things down quickly. Now also all of these planes had different width blades for their purpose. The trying plane was wider, the jack plane is narrower. The trying plane has a straight blade, the jack plane is straight with curls up on the edges. That's how they did it. Now if you want to have a look, I can show you these. I'll start with the jack plane. And since starting this series, I've realized the way to remove the wedge here is to give the plane a tap on the end. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a tap. There it goes. Gone. Out comes the wedge. And then out comes the blade on the backing iron. So there's a little bit of timber in there. It acts as a little slip for that one as well, for the blade to travel on. Now this blade is a warranted Ward cast steel, and it's got a little icon of an anvil up the top with a WP either side, one W and a P either side of the anvil, and a couple of blacksmith's hammers on top. The iron, the backing iron, and it's the same as any other ordinary plane these days. They haven't changed the system too much. The iron has this brass, I'll bring it over. don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that is a nut. So the thread, let me see if I can see this properly, the screw or bolt that holds the plane blade onto the iron goes in to there. Now I've tidied it up a little bit, shoot me, but that's, I just did. Putting it back together is pretty easy. I'll show you that first, because that's pretty cool. Ward cast steel, and you can see the anvil at the top and the two hammers and warranted Ward cast steel. Excellent. There's a slot in here to take the bolt, the head of the bolt. I'm going to slide that in without pushing it down and cutting my finger because it's still reasonably sharp. Now I'll put the wedge in. Put the wedge in as well. You can see that going in there. And sit it down on the table before I tighten that wedge up. And then just give it a tiny tap. So that's locked back in there. Beautiful. The trying plane. Again, we'll give it a tap. Out comes the wedge. Put the plane down over there. Now this one is a this one's a Sorby, but it's got the Ward warranted steel as the backing iron. Now I don't know if that's how it came or whether after switched it around, but I'll show you that. Come over. There we go. Now at the top you'll see there's a fleece. That's a sheep hanging, I don't know how, because Sorby used to do a whole lot of agricultural stuff. They used to do shears for shearing and all that kind of thing. And you'll see underneath it's got I and H, I think it is, Sorby. Yep. Cast steel warranted. They were big on the warranted. I don't know what the story was, but everything had to be warranted. Now, on the backing iron, I'm going to come in a little bit closer here. On the backing iron, you might be able to see that. If I turn it sideways there, you can see it there. And again, the brass nut locked onto the backing iron. So they're pretty cool. I'll put this back on. So it goes on like this. I'll come over and you can watch it. There's the backing iron, the blade, and we slide it on and rotate it. And then we push the backing iron up until it's around a 1/16 or a mil or two away from the end, and then this gets nipped up. This has to be centered. Okay, and this one is a bevel down. For those that don't know, on the blade, that is the bevel. The other side of the blade, under the backing iron, of course, the other side of the blade is flat. And pop it back in the spot there, pop that back in, and they work a treat. So there you go. This one also has a whole different section of timber on the underside. I don't know if you can see it there. See the two different types of timber? So the sole of the plane is one type of timber, and the body is another type. They might be the same type of timber, but they look to be different to me. All right, and there's a name on the back of this one. Easier. W. Popple or Poppet, GWP, superior quality. They all wanted to think that their planes were better than everyone else's when they were making them. Times must have been really competitive. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. These bench planes are something that I've had sitting around here, and I've given them a little bit of a tidy up. And they're one of those things that life is busy, and you think to yourself, look at those old planes, they're probably no good. I want to get these to a condition where I can start using them again. Put them back to work, why not? Some people will probably say, Dave, you can't use them, you'll end up getting rid of all of their history and they'll get damaged. I don't know what this guy'd say. He'd probably say, Dave, jump in and use them. That's what he bought them for, to use them. Anyway, that's it. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Keep on coming back. See you next time. Bye.